أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو عالم الغيب والشهادة هو الرحمن الرحيم. هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر سبحان الله عما يشركون. هو الله الخالق البارئ المصور له الأسماء الحسنى يسبح له ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم. صدق الله العظيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Surah Al-Asr. I begin in the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Ayah number 2. إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ. Verily man is in the state of loss. In the commentary it is mentioned, in that he is wasting his actual life's capital in infidelity, sin and negligence, seeking the world, sports and amusements. He does not make life the means of brightening his hereafter. Man is the merchant and life is the shop, and the deeds are the waves of trade. If they are good, their purchaser is Allah Almighty, and paradise is their price. Says Allah Almighty, no doubt Allah Azza wa Jal has purchased from the believers their lives and their belongings. If they are evil, their purchaser is the devil, and hell is their price. Like the wares, so is the purchaser at the alcohol shop. The buyer is a drunkard, while at the tasbih and the musalla shop, the buyer will be the performer of salah. Also the profit and loss of small capital will be small, while that of the big capital will be big. The life of a human being is more valuable than the entire creation, because by means of it, he is able to earn sainthood, nearness of Allah Almighty, and paradise. The lives of the angels, jinns, and animals are not like that of human beings. Those, if man earns profit, he will become a ghaus and a qutb. If he goes into loss, he will be beaten up in hell. Thus the verse is absolutely true that man is in the state of loss. Ayah number 3. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ except those who believe and do righteous deeds, and those who exhort one another to accept truth, those who counsel one another to be patient. In the commentary it is mentioned, they are not in the state of loss, but in gain, says Allah Almighty. Then those have twofold increase. In the translation it is mentioned. Then as the faith is strong, so will the gain be greater. Ask the Prince of Martyrs of Karbala about the taste of this gain, who sacrificed everything to gain everything. The Sufi sages say that at every breath of the negligent person, his age is decreasing. Just like the utensil having holes from which every drop flows and is being wasted, and the utensil eventually becomes empty. Every breath of the pious believer is being accumulated in the divine treasury, where it is increasing like the drops of a distilled mixture from the distilling apparatus gather in a bottle to provide cure for the patient and are means of gain for the herbalist. For this reason, the martyrs, on the conclusion of these breaths, do not die, but acquire eternal life. But they are alive, yes, you are unaware. In another translation, the profit of life is worship, otherwise there will be disgrace. If the angels, jinns, etc., true are believers, yet here believers denotes human beings, because paradise is the outcome of faith of human beings. From this emerge a few issues. Number one, faith precedence over deeds. Without faith, no deed is acceptable. The heart is the king, and all the limbs are the subjects. If the king is defective, the kingdom too is defective. If the heart harbors defective beliefs, then the good deeds are useless. And number two, no believer should be heedless of good deeds. Only he will eat the fruit who will protect the branches joined to the roots. And number three, the believer should perform all types of good deeds, as is being known from the generality of pious deeds. It is important to remember that there are many outer and inner limbs, and the function of each limb is separate. Each deed is of three types: permissible, rewardable, and sinful. Do deeds that are permissible and rewardable, but refrain from deeds that are sinful. And number four, do good deeds at all times, as can be seen from the application of, in brackets, they do. This tells us that the farmer protects and takes care of the field until the harvest is cut. Just like that, the believer should do good deeds until the time of his death. He must protect this field from his enemy, meaning the devil. And number five, he had at all times commanded one another towards faith and good deeds, or until the time of death had counseled the people towards doing good deeds. Like how Hazrat Ibrahim and Hazrat Yaqub alayhi salam had counseled the children, and how our Holy Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam until his last breath counseled his followers to establish salah, and meting out good treatment to their slaves and servants. From this emerge a few issues. Number one, first become pious, then counsel others towards piety, as can be understood from this narrational format. And number two, at all times engage in propagational activities, as it is understood from the application of, in brackets, they had counseled. And number three, every believer should become a preacher. One who knows any issue should explain it to the one who is unaware of it. Propagation is not the duty of Islamic scholars alone, as is understood by the generality of subject of, in brackets, they had counseled. And number four, one should propagate under all conditions and at every opportunity, and should not be restricted to function and the stage. And number five, like the salah and fasting, propagation too is important. And number six, People in general should propagate with all their might verbally and sincerely, while the ulama, the scholars, should do this verbally and through their writing to spread the laws of Allah Almighty, as is understood from the generality of they had counseled, in brackets. The literal meaning of patience is to stop, cause to stop, but technically is used to stop the base itself from breaking the limits of religion. Hold the regions of frenzied horses tightly so that they are able to move properly without plunging you in right and left pit. Likewise, straighten your base itself by pulling it tightly with the regions of Sharia. Stop the people from indulging in frivolous activities during joyous moments and when is fear. Do not become bored when performing your worship. There are three categories of patience, while the verse is all comprehensive. Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidil mursaleen, amma ba'd, fa'a'udhu billahi minash shaytanir rajim, bismillahir rahmanir rahim. As-salatu wassalamu alayki ya Rasulullah wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Habiballah. As-salatu wassalamu alayki ya Nabi Allah wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Nur Allah. Excellence of Durud Pak, the Prophet of mankind, the peace of our hearts and mind, the most generous and kind, sallallahu alayhi wasallam has said, indeed, he who recites Durud Pak upon me the most will be closest to me on the day of judgment. Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. 14 points regarding acts that invalidate the fast. Yesterday we only covered up to 6. Inshallah we'll continue up to 14. Despite being aware that he was fasting, if a fasting person inserts a laxative, a medicine into the anal, or inhales medicine through nostrils, his fast will become invalid. And number 8, if water went down the throat unintentionally whilst rinsing the mouth, or if one sniffed the water through the nose and it reached the brain, then the fast will become invalid. However, if it happens in a forgetfulness when one was unaware that he was fasting, fast will not be invalid, even if he does it deliberately. Likewise, if someone throws something towards the fasting person and it goes down the throat, his fast will become invalid. And number 9, drinking or eating something whilst asleep will result in the invalidation of fast. Similarly, if the mouth of the fasting person was open and a drop of water or a flake of snow goes down his throat, his fast will become invalid. And number 10, swallowing another person's saliva or putting one's saliva onto one's palm and then swallowing it will invalidate the fast. And number 11, swallowing the saliva or phlegm that is already in the mouth does not invalidate the fast. A lot of people have a habit spitting the saliva every now and then. It is not necessary to do that. And number 12, if one puts colored string into his mouth which changes the color of the saliva and then he swallowed that colored saliva, his fast would become invalid. And number 13, swallowing 1 or 2 drops of tears, like if someone was crying, right, will not invalidate the fast, but swallowing many drops whose saltness is felt in the whole mouth will result in the invalidation of the fast. The same ruling applies to sweat as well. And last and final point, during defecation, i.e. relieving oneself, if the anal appears out and one must dry it properly with a piece of cloth, etc., before standing up, so that there remains no wetness. If he stands up with the drops of water on the anus, causing the water to be absorbed into the body, the fast will become invalid. This is the reason why the respected Islamic jurist, Rahamallahu Ta'ala alayhi, have advised the fasting person to avoid breathing whilst washing the anus after defecation. Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. या इलाही रहम फरमा मुस्तफ़ा के वास्ते, या रसूल अल्लाह करम कीजिए हुदा के वास्ते, मुश्किलें हल कर शहे मुश्किल कुशा के वास्ते, करबलाए रद शहीद करबला के वास्ते, सैयदे सज्जाद के सदके मिसाज रख मुझे, इल्म हक दे बाकरे इल्म हुदा के वास्ते, सिद्क सादिक का तसदक सादकुल इस्लाम कर, बेगदब राज़ी हो काज़िम और रज़ा के वास्ते, बहर मारूफ ओ सरी मारूफ दे बेहुद सरी, जुल्द हक में गिल जुनैद बासफा के वास्ते, बहर शिबली शेर हक दुनिया के कुत्तों से बचा, एक कारक अब्द वाहिद बेरिया के वास्ते, बुल फरह का सदका कर गम को फरह दे हुस्न साद, बुल हसन अबू सईद साद जा के वास्ते, कादरी कर कादरी रख कादरियों में उठा, कदर अब्दुल कादर कुदरत नुमा के वास्ते, अहसन अल्लाहु लहुम रिज़्क़न से दे रिज़्क़े हसन, बल्लाए रज़ाक ताजुल अस्फिया के वास्ते, नस्र भी सालिह का सदका सालिह मंसूर रख दे, हयात दीन मुहय्यी जाफिज़ा के वास्ते, तूर इरफा ओ उलू ओ हम्द ओ हुस्न ओ बहा दे, अली मूसा हसन अहमद बा के वास्ते, बहर इब्राहीम मुझ पर नार गम गुलजार कर, बीक दे दाता भिकार बादशाह के वास्ते, खाने दिल को जियाद रूह ईमान को जमाल, शहजिया मौला जमालुल औलिया के वास्ते, दे मुहम्मद के लिए रोज़ी कर अहमद के लिए, खाना फज़लुल्लाह से हिस्सा गदा के वास्ते, दीन दुनिया के मुझे बरकात दे बरकात से, इश्क हक दे इश्क इश्क इल्तिमा के वास्ते, हुब्बे अहले बैत दे आले मुहम्मद के लिए, कर शहीद इश्क हमजा पेशवा के वास्ते, दिल को अच्छा तल को सुतरा जान को पुरनूर कर, अच्छे प्यारे शमसिदी बदरुल उला के वास्ते, दो जहां में खादिम आले रसूल अल्लाह कर, हजरत आले रसूल मुक्तदा के वास्ते, कर अता अहमद रज़ाए अहमद मुरसल मुझे, मेरे मौला हजरत अहमद रज़ा के वास्ते, पुरजिया कर मेरा चेहरा हश्र में किबरिया, शहजिया उद्दीन पीर बासफा के वास्ते, अहयिना फिद्दीन वद्दुनिया सलामुम बिस्सलाम, कादरी अब्दुस्सलाम उशहदा के वास्ते, इश्क अहमद में अता कर चश्मे तर सोज़े जिगर या खुदा इलियास को अहमद रजा के वास्ते सदका इलाया कदे चैन इज़ इल्म अमल अफ़्व इरफान आफियत इसमें नवा के वास्ते. Ya Allah Azza wa Jal, by the virtues of these pious saints, accept the fasts of Ramadan, accept the Madani Halqa. Ya Allah Azza wa Jal, accept our Salat al-Fajr. Ya Allah Azza wa Jal, accept all our good deeds. Ya Allah, give us salvation and success. Ya Allah, give us the closeness to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the form of respect and ishq Rasul. Ya Allah Azza wa Jal, bless Kashmir, Palestine, Syria, Burma, Iraq, and Muslims in India, Muslims in China, and all the Muslims around the globe who are being oppressed. Ya Allah, who are dying with starvation. Ya Allah, remove these calamities, give them patience and success. Ya Allah Azza wa Jal, bless Pakistan, give Pakistan success, and protect them from the enemies of Islam. Ya Allah, protect the Muslims in the UK, protect our brothers and sisters from the enemies of Islam, raise the flag of Islam. Give us peace and unity, make us one and strong, and give us the ability to worship you, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, fill our masajid with worshippers, give us the ability to invite others. Ya Allah, Azza wa Jal, guide our youngsters from the streets back to Islam. Ya Allah, Azza wa Jal, accept the du'as of the majlis, give them good health, and give them death with Imaan. Ya Allah, bless our households, our children, give them good health, give them the ability to worship you, give them the ability to recite the glorious Quran, and give them success in this life and the afterlife. Ya Allah Azza wa Jal, protect all the Muslims' dignity. Ya Allah Azza wa Jal, those who are studying in schools and colleges, give them success in worldly as well as religious. Ameen. Sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.